Alrighty, hello folks, hope you're all having a wonderful day. Please, if you like what I do, then head on over to Minimaker. They do some amazing models over there, and they can do shipments on their models anywhere over the world for €10. It is in the description down below. Also, if you like what I do here on the channel, please consider subscribing. I've noticed my views are rocketing up, which is great. Awesome. Things are recovering after the Christmas slump, but also my subscriptions have sort of, remained the same. So if you're not subscribed yet, and you want to help out a smaller channel like mine, it means nothing to you. You just click to subscribe once, and you maybe never hear from me again, but it means the world to me. All right, so that's where we are. Let's jump into some Hobby Nightmares, because a lot of you already know why we're here. It is Friday, and I am about to have myself a vodka, and do you know what? I switched over. I was on Pepsi Max, but drinking caffeinated drinks all day is not very good for you. So I've switched over to non-caffeine Pepsi Max, and you know what? It's actually better than the caffeinated Pepsi Max. Isn't that crazy? I still only have one or two. But this one I put some vodka in it because I thought, you know what, it's Friday, let's have some fun, shall we? Anyway, let's jump in first with Mark. Hello, Mark. He says, "Hi, Mr. North, please call me whatever other than my real name. It is so unique." I'm going to be honest with you, mate. I know two people with your name. And your name's not Mark, I know, but I know two people with your name. Sorry to burst your bubble there. It's a nice name though, lovely name. Anyway, moving on. I listened to your recent episode on the Guard guy who went to his first 40k tournament and went 0-3 against Death Guard, Marines, and the Purest Marines. And I wanted to write in as a sort of continuation on the issues he raised in 10th edition and your response to them. I don't mean this to be in any way confrontational, and I'm just really typing out a stream of consciousness. Please do respond as the points arrive. I will do. Thank you very much. Quick introduction. I am an Imperial Knights player, former Iron Hands, who started in the middle of 9th edition, and my closest hobby store is around 2 hours away. Nevertheless, my parents are okay with me driving there on most weekends. It's a fairly competitive place. People have a great understanding of the rules, but other than that, at the monthly tournaments, the best players try to play fluffy and fun lists. Well, you are in a very good store, and I would say you are in the minority of people who go to stores. Most places, when you have people who know the rules and like to play extremely crunchy games, they don't bring fluffy lists to the events in the store. I don't think that's a controversial thing to say, but moving on. You're doing very well there. You've got a very good store, so congratulations. I would consider myself an average tournament player. I attend most of the 10-person end-of-month tournaments, and I've taken first place 1 or 2 times against some really good players. I'm also the kind of person who's excited for balance updates to spice up the game. But I've been sour every time for a year since a year sconce he ruined Bondsman. I don't know what that means. Moving on. I've played against all the armies mentioned in his Hobby Nightmare, and I think that was the last one on Wednesday, right? So on Wednesday Hobby Nightmare you were talking about? Okay, cool. I played against all of the armies mentioned in the last Hobby Nightmare, and I think that it really was a case of needing to get good. How can you let Melter War Dogs even get line of sight to your tanks in such dense terrain with Guard infantry? They even have to come on from the sides, and a Guard tank in cover is nearly unkillable for an Armiger or 3 as long as it's completely played, competently played. Smoke screen and cover being popped, things like that. I don't know why, but that detail threw me for somebody who's experienced at war games and is competent with their army. And the Leman Russ Demolisher or a Rogal Dawn should one-shot most units in the game with orders attached to them. Okay, well I guess we're seeing the other side of it now. This is somebody who's very, very crunchy, who is coming back at the last Hobby Nightmare that we had on. I will try to do this from now on. If I read something very, very quickly that actually pertains to something that we covered just a day or two ago, I'll read it out, right? Because it means that all of you who've come from that video the other day will know what he's talking about. And those of you who don't, maybe go and watch the other video, because it was a very, very good one, and some very, very good points were raised. Let's move on. The last game against Grey Knights, from what he was talking about, I understand the frustration of losing, but dominating, but talking to Northern here too. Don't secondary objectives encourage flexibility from a general? Because if it was a game of just stand on the objective or kill a thing, the game becomes bland and needs even less tactics. And if you don't like the card's randomness, choose fixed. Okay, choose fixed. Okay. Well, two things on that one, my friend, in choosing fixed objectives, okay? His Hobby Nightmare stated, I think, that the entire tournament was using random objectives, so he didn't have a choice in the matter. I'm sure if he did have a choice in the matter, he'd say, cool, let's do fixed objectives, because, you know, this is kind of stupid, you know? I want to choose my secondaries to suit my list and then go from there. But as far as I'm aware, that wasn't an option, so that's off the table, right? In terms of secondaries meaning you need to be more flexible as a general in Warhammer 40,000 10th edition, I don't agree. I think you can set up a game to be really, you needing to be really flexible by the opponent that you're playing. Okay, a good game of Warhammer 40,000, you can make me a flexible general by just being a good player. I'm serious. Like, literally, if I've got my Grey Knights and you've got your Eldar or whatever it is you're playing, you can play really badly, and I wouldn't have to be flexible at all, right? Or you can play your Codex very well and go for the throat and the jugular, and I will have to play well. Like every other war game under the sun, right? All the war games don't rely on secondaries to introduce a sense of flexibility, quote-unquote, right? Any game, in my opinion, that relies on sheer randomness like that, like a random number generator, to make things more interesting, is a shitty game. That's just how I feel, man. And I don't think we might not agree on secondaries. They're not my thing at all. Now, if you do fixed secondaries where you pick them, absolutely, that's really interesting. And I like the fact that we've got more things to score on. That's pretty cool, right? But drawing them from a deck, it's kind of lame. And I don't even think you disagree with that, Mark. From what you were saying there, I don't even think you disagree. That's why you said, why don't you just choose, nailed down objectives, you know? Anyway. Assassinate and Bring It Down, I imagine, work well into many Grey Knights lists, so we could have picked those. Also, Northern, you wondered why Grey Knights win in tourneys. It's because they are super fast and do secondaries very well, and hit fairly hard, especially on purified ground, as baby carriers, as in the Nemesis Dread Knight. Okay, yeah, I mean, that is true, but it doesn't stop my original point of they don't play like Grey Knights. When I think of Grey Knights, I don't think, ooh, fast. Yeah? Do me a favour right now, those of you watching, and if you've got the capacity to do so, go online and look for a picture of a Grey Knight. Like, go ahead, look for a picture of a Grey Knight, right? Does the word fast come into your brain when you look at that? It doesn't come into mine. You know what comes into mine? Whoa, those are knights in space, that's cool as shit. Right? I don't think, wow, they must be quick. Do you know what I mean? They don't play like they feel. They don't play like they should. They play like Eldar. Eldar should be very fast, very good at psycho attacks, and very hard hitting, but should be a kind of glass cannon. Right? Then they should be able to take down the big beasties. Yeah, because they're Eldar, man. They've got really good technology and really good psychic powers. Grey Knights should play differently. Grey Knights should be really amazing at taking on characters and monsters. Right? Anything with multiple wounds should look at a Grey Knight list and go, no. Right? Chaff armies should hold down and beat Grey Knight armies. So if you take like a really big Imperial Guard army with lots of normal men's, you should hold down a Grey Knight army and maybe beat it and knock it off secondaries a lot, right? Because you've got more men. Grey Knights aren't specialised in taking you on. They'll kill a whole swathe of you, right? But you've got more men to throw at objectives and, different things like that. So, that's my opinion anyway. Now on to something else. As you've said on multiple occasions, you want Warhammer 40,000 to be deliberately unbalanced in a non-competitive format. Now, no, I'm going to pull you up there, my friend, right? I didn't say that. I said there should be different formats of 40k, not that the whole format should be non-competitive. I said 40k should have a very crunchy rule set for those who want to play at tournaments and in events, and play like really, really, really crunchy rules. That's fine. But I think the core rule set that you get in the rulebook should be really unbalanced. All of your army should be broken as shit, but in different ways, right? The Grey Knight should be really good at tearing down single characters and monstrous creatures and vehicles and things with multiple wounds, right? An Imperial Knight army coming up against a Grey Knight army should be shitting itself. Should be going, oh no, right? This is gonna hurt, right? Somebody who relies as a Tyranid player on monstrous creatures should be like, oh no, that's a Grey Knight army. Demons goes without saying, oh no, that's a Grey Knight army, right? We should be really unbalanced in different ways. Eldar should be extremely fast and very hard hitting, but if you catch them, you can kill them, right? Grey Knight should be relatively, normal paced, very hard hitting, very hard to kill, but also they're so low on numbers that every single loss hurts. Same goes for Adeptus Custodes, right? Everybody should have their own thing and be utterly broken at that thing, is what I'm saying, right? Khorne Berserkers or Orcs should get so many attacks on the charge that it's preposterous. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I would actually do it so that Khorne Berserkers get a bonus to their first charge as well when they arrive on the battlefield, even if it's the first turn, right? They're right in your face straight away. That's what they do well, and they're broken, right? You've got to find a way to work around their strengths. It's Sun Tzu, man, right? You ignore them where they're strong and you hit them where they're weak. That's what generals do. What generals don't do is pick out secondaries from a fucking card deck. Just saying, right? So, Grey Knights beating demons and so on. If just that, wouldn't it be terrible for a chunk of the community, as if a demons person shows up, they might as well pack up and leave when they come up against Grey Knights? No, I disagree. And the person who plays Grey Knights never playing anybody in Chaos because of his $2,000 investment into an army that now repels gamers from him. You criticised 40k as being rock, paper, scissors, and you only play paper, but wouldn't unbalanced 40k be even more so? And if there's a competitive rule set, everybody will migrate to it anyways because it's unbalanced. I don't agree. No. Anyway, thank you for reading this. I look forward to seeing your response, and I gladly really enjoy your content. And in the end, I'm just a dumb 16-year-old that loves Warhammer. Well, I was going to have a go at your spelling and punctuation because I've had to, interpret what you've said a few times. But you know what? For a 16-year-old man, well done. I'm glad this Hobby Nightmare didn't go anywhere. That was a bit weird because you're not 18. But as I've said in the past, if you're not 18, try not to write into Hobby Nightmares unless it's something game related. But well done for you, sir. You clearly have a really good grasp on the game at 16 years of age. Well done to you. But on the flip side, I don't agree with your takeaways here, and I have to say some of them I agree with. But towards the end here, when you say, okay, Grey Knights beating demons and so on, wouldn't that just get boring and people wouldn't want to play? No, it wouldn't, right? Because as you said before, you said, wouldn't you want to get better and be flexible as a general? Yes. So if I'm a demon player and I come up against a Grey Knight player, I'm gonna have to be flexible, aren't I? I'm gonna have to find a way to win. I'm gonna have to be a better general than what I normally am. There should be ways and means. I'm not saying that you should have literally this army beats this one all of the time. What I'm saying is that if Grey Knights come up against demons, 60% of the time, if they're played well, they should be winning. Simple as, right? 60% of the time. That's still 40% of the time where the demon player can pull out a win. That's what I'm saying. Right now, Games Workshop want every single faction to win around 45 to 50% of their games, and that's not good. That means everybody is a grey sludge and nobody's having fun. In my opinion, right? Literally. I want my army to do things well. And if I kick demon ass really well, then I'm sorry, if you're a demon player, if you're a demon player and you come up against a Grey Knight player, you need to play well. And if you're not a very good demon player, or you're a very new demon player, I'd avoid Grey Knights for a bit. Simple as. There's nothing wrong with that. There are many other games and armies out there that you can play against. right? That's my opinion. You brought up the flexible thing before, where you said, look, people, it'll mean generals aren't very flexible. Well, I think it'll be the opposite, mate. I think it'll be the opposite. I think if a Grey Knight list comes up against a really powerful, really spammy Tyranid list with a load of chaff there, I'm going to really struggle to win that game. But if I'm good enough as a Grey Knight player, or if I'm a good enough general where I really play into my army strengths because it's really fluffy and cool, I'll win that game. I back myself to win that game, right? Absolutely. I think every single faction and codex should be broken in its own way. And as you said there before, you'll say, well, won't demons get really angry about playing Grey Knights? Yeah, but other people get really angry at playing demons. Do you know what I mean? It's the same across the board. As you said, get good before. Well, I challenge you to your not you, but people in your example. I challenge them to get good. If every single codex is unbalanced as fuck, right? Really unbalanced, then I challenge them to get good. Then, right? If you don't like playing Grey Knights as a demon player, play better. Then you'll be in the 40% that win, rather than the 60% that lose. It encourages you to get better at your codex and things like that. So that's my fault anyway. That's what I think. I think 40k should be unbalanced, but in a fun way. Absolutely, And then they don't have to update the rules every 5 minutes. I also think, one last point before I move on, I do think it's a lot with your age, sir. Right, so put it this way, right? You said you're completely fine with them updating the rules every 5 minutes, whatever it is, right? Yeah, you don't have a job, my friend. You're in school, so you have the time to go home and read up all the rules. I know, because I did it as well when I was 16. I'd go home, I'd pore over my rule books, I'd read all of the lore. I was an encyclopedia, dude, right? At least with my own army. At least with Eldar. I was an Eldar encyclopedia of rules when I was a kid. Right? So, and if Games Workshop updated the rules every 5 minutes to make it more fair, quote-unquote, I'd love that when I was a kid. Because I could stay on top of it. I had nothing else to do. I had some homework to do, sure. I had GCSEs to do, sure. Right? But once that was done, and it's not very hard, once that was done, I was in my models, dude. I was reading my rules. So, other people in the world don't have the same amount of time. They don't have the same amount of wherewithal to sit down and have mental energy after dealing with an entire day of work. Then look at what the fucking errata is for this week that Games Workshop brought out because they can't balance rules properly. Or at least unbalance them in a way that makes it fun. You see what I mean? Some of your answer there was, it's not a problem for me, so it's not a problem. Well, it is a problem. It is a problem. But thank you for writing in. And well done on you for knowing those rules. 16, man, you're going to be a really good hobbyist going forward, so good on you. Good on you. And keep going, man. Keep going. You seem really passionate. Anyway, our next Hobby Nightmare is from Lynn. And he or she says, "Hello North, please call me Lynn. I hope that you and your family are doing well." We are, thank you. "I actually have a board game Hobby Nightmare to share concerning a game called Seven Wonders." Dude, I played that with my missus the other week. It's brilliant. "Today, I would like to tell you about the time that what might otherwise have been a very uncomfortable case of mistaken identity turned into a real-life nightmare because of something I learned months later. I have actual nightmares regarding this event and can't look at a copy of the game without feeling sick." Alright, okay. "I'll be using fake names to protect the privacy of everybody involved. Additionally, I would like to warn you and anybody listening if you read this, that this story copies the topic of actual abuse." Alright, Mark, you need to go away, my friend. Don't listen to this bit. You've listened to your Hobby Nightmare, mate. Now go away. Go away. Alright? You need to go and paint some models, my friend. Good lad. Alright. He's still listening, isn't he? There's no way he's gone, "Alright, yeah, no problem." and he's gone and done his own thing. Well, just so you know, if you get traumatised, and from now on, it's 18 plus. So, it's your own fault. I'm going to give you the context of what I found out later, before I get into the incident with the game, so that you understand why it's such a nightmare looking back on it, alright? My mother was always very close with her sister, who had moved with her husband and family to a foreign country some years before this. When I was 17, my aunt, uncle and cousins came back to the United States to live with us for a little over a year. The following summer, a couple of weeks after he and his family had left the States, we found out that one of my cousins, Hunter, who was 16 at the time of the event, had been actually abusing my youngest sister Sarah, who was only 11. For almost the entire year, they'd been staying with us. Oh my god. Oh my god. You know, I'm going to be honest with you, like, as somebody who's taught kids this age, 16, you are a knobhead. Like, you don't know shit from shit. But I think you know enough when you're 16 to know what's right and wrong. Gonna be honest, right? And there's certain things that are just wrong, and if I was in the situation, that dad is getting this guy's dad is getting dangled by his balls out my window. You know, you can't touch the kid. He's a minor, right? And it's the parents' fault, most of it anyway. You know, not seeing this and jumping in, and I don't know, man. It's a sticky situation, but anyway, I wish I could tell you that appropriate action was taken after the fact, but my parents did absolutely minimum that they had to do to avoid getting into trouble with child services. As far as I'm aware, there wasn't even a formal investigation because neither my other siblings nor myself were ever interviewed to check if we had witnessed anything, or if anything had happened to us. Sarah had to do mandatory therapy, which my mother reluctantly took her to. She was not supposed to have any contact with Hunter whatsoever, but that didn't stop my parents from video chatting with my aunt's family, or stop my brother from playing games with Hunter on Steam with an open mic while Sarah was in the room. We were actively encouraged to maintain a positive relationship with him by my parents. Dude. This is a black and white case. Sorry. Yeah, what your parents did was wrong, dude. Just gotta say that. What your parents did was wrong. Like, you protect your kids. Sorry. Nah. As a father, right, my little girl's turning 10 soon. And, nah, man. Nah, this is upsetting me a little bit. No, I'd be fucking fuming. I'd be doing time. Yeah, I think I'd be doing time. Yeah, you protect them. You don't say, you know, do you know what? I've known American families like this, right? Always from a kind of conservative background, where it's like, you know, we can't like rock the boat, we can't like, you know, but they are family, aren't they? You got to be good to family, you know. Maybe the conservative thing's a bit unfair, because I don't really know. They're the ones that I've known who might do this, you know, who don't want to cause a fuss. That's what it is. They don't want to be the talk of the town, right? That's what it is. They're so afraid that anyone's going to find out and think that they're shitty parents, because they are, that they just, you know, don't want to handle the situation. Awful. I'll read the rest of it though, because I know we're all invested now. Later on, my parents told me not even to tell my then fiance, now husband, what Hunter had done to Sarah, despite it not being a big secret. That's bullshit, because what if you have kids? Your fiance needs to know to keep this piece of shit away from your kids. They had even encouraged him to be friends with Hunter online. My parents also tried to convince me to go stay. Sorry, my parents also tried to convince to go stay with my aunt's family overseas for a while in the same house as Hunter. Basically, they're trying to get you to go to there, right? I think you missed out a me there, right? I'm going to reread that again. My parents also tried to convince me to go and stay with my aunt's family overseas for a while in the same house as Hunter. My mother also went on about how because of what happened to Sarah, her dream of her living in a great big house with her sister's family was ruined. Okay, you're gonna be hard for you to hear this. Your mother and father need to get in the fucking sea and stay there. Let's move on. Hunter did not face any charges for what he did and does not have a criminal record. He and his family had to return to the US for a year so he could attend mandatory therapy. After that, he got to leave the country with no lasting consequences for the damage he did. Last I heard, he was newly married and pursuing a career in teaching. Horrifying. Horrifying. Again, look, I know at the age of 16, right, you make mistakes. But there are certain mistakes when you're 16, you know, that go beyond the pale. Do you know what I mean? And by the time you're 16, I know, you know, I've taught many 16-year-olds, you're not fully developed as an adult, but you know right from wrong at that age, right? You know right from wrong. You know, below that grey area. Yeah, below 16, I'd even say like people below 16 can be very mature and know right from wrong. But below 16, I'm more apt to give you a little bit more leeway. Maybe you just haven't been taught how the world works and what is appropriate and what isn't appropriate. But 16, man, nah. Now let's go back in time, while my aunt's family was living with us, before I learned what was happening just down the hall from me. My siblings, cousins and I were all aged between 11 and 17 years, often gathered around the dining room table to play board games. Seven Wonders was usually the first pick, as it could accommodate the 7 of us so we could all play together. Though on this particular occasion, only 6 of us were playing. Sarah did not want to play, which I didn't think was unusual at the time. Looking back now, I wonder if it was because of Hunter, probably. We started getting the board set up and cards dealt out to everybody who was playing. Alright, let me just have a little sip of... By the way, Mark, Must Hobby Nightmare, don't drink until you're 18. Then drink all you want. Unless you're in the States, then you're fucked. We started getting the board set up and cards dealt out to everybody who was playing. About this time, the family dog, Ginger, had come over to lie down under the table. Now, Ginger was a highly affectionate dog. She had abandonment issues, and she often liked to come and lie in front of the couch or by our feet to get extra attention. Usually when she did this, whichever one of us she'd sat by would reach down and pat her. But if hands were otherwise occupied, or they or I would stretch out a foot to pet or comfort her. I sat down at the table, and a moment later I felt a warm, furry brush against my leg. So, as I picked up my starting hand and began planning my first turn, I distractedly extended my foot forward a bit so I could pet Ginger during our game. For the next 15 minutes or so, nothing seemed amiss. I felt like things were going well, and everybody at the table seemed to be having fun. I had received several conflict tokens, which reduce your score at the end of the game, from the player on either side of me, but despite that, I was going along quite well, and thought I'd be able to make enough points up to win. As we were moving into the last stage of the game, I heard a scratching at the back door, and I saw my brother get up to let Ginger outside. It took me a minute to realise that something was very wrong. I had just watched my brother let Ginger outside, but that didn't make sense because I'd been petting Ginger the entire time, and I could still feel her furry back pressing against my foot. For a moment, I thought perhaps one of our cats was under the table instead. Then, I took a little look under the table. North, it was not a cat. It was my cousin Hunter's long, hairy legs that he had stretched all the way to my side of the table deliberately. I leapt back from the table. I was horrified and shouted, "Hunter, I thought you were the dog. Why didn't you say something?" To which he immediately shouted, "I thought you were my sister." What? Oh no! I can't laugh at this. I'm not supposed to laugh at this. Oh. I'm not supposed to laugh at this. It's the way he just went, "I thought you were my sister." Sorry. Oh my god. Hunter, I thought you were the dog. Why didn't you say something? To which he immediately shouted, "I thought you were my sister." How would that be any better? I shouted back incredulously. I think that's what we're all asking, yes. Everyone started talking over each other, trying to make sense of what the hell was going on. Hunter didn't try to come up with another brilliant excuse for his seemingly inexplicable silence. He just kept dodging and deflecting everybody's questions. Eventually, the subject was dropped, and everyone else seemed to move on and forget that it ever happened, even laughing it off at the end. I was still very upset and embarrassed by what had happened, and couldn't get over the fact that he had to have felt my foot there the entire time and not said anything to me about it. But since nobody else seemed concerned, I did my best to dismiss my lingering discomfort and put the incident out of my mind. I remembered it a year or so later and felt sick. I can't help think that the reason he didn't say anything was because he was getting off on it, or worse, that he was potentially trying to groom me as well. Every time I see that game now, all I can think about is that fact for over a year I was sleeping down the hall from a predator and what he was doing to Sarah the whole time without anyone knowing, and, of course, the fact that my parents did absolutely nothing to protect her when everything came to light. To make it worse, the dog leg situation became a running joke in my family where they would bring it up somewhat often. Somehow, it seemed like I was the only one to realise the implications of that day. Due to this, and many, many other problems with my family, I no longer speak to them, and I'm a lot better for it. Thank you for reading my story. Hopefully, this one wasn't too heavy. Thanks. Okay, Lynn, I have to say, as much as it must suck to not speak to your family anymore, I think this is one of the rare occasions where I think the entire Hobby Nightmare brain trust can probably say you've made the right decision. Like, their behaviour there just doesn't compute in my mind. I don't understand, you know, I can understand the sentiment of going, you know, oh no, this is going to get out and we're going to be the talk of the town. Do you know what? And yeah, okay, I understand why you would think that and why you would think that was a negative, because it is, right? But at the same time, fuck that, I'm protecting my child. Right? If people in the local community want to, like, go, oh, that's, you know, didn't that happen to that kid over there? Well, yeah, fine, but I'm still protecting it. Go fuck yourself, right? Come at me, bro. Like, I'm on my lawn. Like, come at me. I'm doing the, you know, I'm doing my part. Like, I'm doing what a dad should do. I'm protecting my child, right? If this happens, God forbid, touch wood, right? But I do time, man. You know, I do time. That kid would be lucky to leave my house. And if I calm down enough to not go after him, that dad is getting a fucking arse whooping. A whooping. You know. Yeah, that red mist will come down, I'm telling you. So, I think you did the right thing. I think you've handled this really well. Can you give me a follow-up email of how Sarah's doing? How's she doing? Did the therapy work? Okay, I really hope it did. Yeah, that was a rough one. Yeah, you were right in your title there. But I hope she's doing well. So send me in an email. Maybe I'll update everybody. Yeah, I won't go into detail. Maybe I'll say in the next episode, oh, she's doing well. No problems there. So send me an email. Let me know how she's doing. Let me know how you're doing as well. And but I think you did the right thing. Absolutely. And next time, you know, you're at a table, you know, maybe check underneath it before playing footsie with whatever's there. Alright? Yeah. Alright. I love you a long time. I'll speak to you on Sunday, where we are going to be covering the Sons of Horus. Rewriting the Sons of Horus. Yeah. I'm going to talk about a project that I've been thinking about doing for a little while as part of our Sunday thing after we finish the Legions and some Xenos factions and the Imperial Guard, maybe, right? Fun fact, it's 10,000 years into the future past 40k, right? Anyway, hopefully you have a really good weekend, and I'll speak to you on Sunday. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll speak to you soon, alright? Have a good one. Bye now.